about Jesus, more of his name, fullness see, more of his love, who died for me, more about Jesus on his throne, riches and glory, all his own, more of his kingdom sure increase, more of his coming prince of peace. Oh, more about Jesus. More about Jesus. More of his saving goodness, more of his love who died for me. Amen. That should be the desire of every believer, to know more and more about Jesus. The book is Hebrews, chapter number is 4. Our focus shall be verses 14 through 16. Hebrews 4, verses 16, 14 through 16. Fourth chapter of the book of Hebrews. Again, at verse 14. Seeing then we have a great high priest that is passed into the heavens, Jesus, the Son of God, let us hold fast our profession. Let us therefore come boldly to the throne of grace, that we may obtain mercy and find grace to help in time of need. The flower fade, the grass certainly shall wither, but my Lord's word shall not return unto him void. Shine on me, shine on me, let the light from the lighthouse shine on me, shine on me, shine on me, let the light, the lighthouse shine on me. I heard the voice of Jesus saying, come unto me and rest, lie down thy will, red one, lie down, thy head upon my breast shine on me, shine on me. Let the light from the lighthouse shine on me. Yes, shine. Oh, every day, Lord. On me, let the light from the lighthouse shine, oh, shine on me. I wanted to take this text for a few moments and talk about a friend in high places. A friend in high places. Thank you, Ashes. You may be seated. There comes a time in all of our lives when we need to know people. There comes a time in all of our lives when we need access to a particular person who can do what we need to have done. It's called having clout. People stand and they brag about, I know people, or I know him, or I know her. And in order to have clout, you got to understand that clout runs uphill. Not going to do me much good to talk about who I know that's down the hill. But, you know, to be able to say, well, I got a speeding ticket, and somebody say, I can handle that for you. That's clout. Have court date and go in and know the judge, and the judge dismiss the case. That's having clout. To be able to access the senator, the governor, walk into the White House and talk to, oh no, I'm gonna use that. That ain't clout, that's crazy. Having clout is being able to open doors and to talk to folk and get people's ear who can make a difference in our lives. And many of us in the room understand the principle of having clout. It runs uphill. It's being able to do things by just picking up the phone and saying, I need, and the person on the other end be able to say, it's done. That's clout. You don't have to be able to do it. You just got to know the person that's able to do it, and they got to know you. Come on, help me here. See, you don't want to go suggesting you got clout on somebody else's recommendation. You want to be able to walk in and say, I need, and they give because of who you are, because of the connection you have with the person that has the power. Anybody in the room got clout? Everybody in here, you will give them enough time to brag about knowing somebody if it ain't nobody but the butcher and the baker. I got clout. And so I wanted to look at this for a moment because I think that all of us need to have clout in the spiritual realm. And I wanted to strongly suggest to you that there is a friend who is in high places. And in our life and in this world in which we live today, there comes a time when you really need somebody who's really, honestly on your side. You don't need nobody who can just say that I understand just because they don't know what else to say. You need somebody who really understands because they've been where you are and have walked in your shoes, and not only walked in your shoes, but are still wearing them. Y'all gonna help me here for a minute? We live in a time where this world is shifting without warning. You wake up in the morning and the sun is shining, and before the sun meets high meridian, dark clouds of oppression have rolled into our lives, and we wonder sometimes, what have I done that makes this race so hard to run? You ever wonder when you look at the other person who's not even worshiping Jesus, don't even come by the church, don't even have a Bible, don't even know any scriptures, and it appears that they're living better than you are. You look at them, they're in better health. You look at them, they have more wealth. You look at them, they even look better than you. And you wonder, what have I done that the Lord seemingly has forgotten about me and left me to run this race by myself? I want to come and strongly suggest to you that you have a friend, and he's in high places. It matters where your friends are, because your friends need to be where they can effect change in your life. Do I have a witness here? And I've come to suggest to somebody in the room, because I know where you are. I've seen your address. You are alone. Yeah, this world has gotten cold. Your friends are few. And you're wondering if anybody cares about you. I've come to say to you this morning, without reservation, beyond the shadow of a doubt, with dialogue, debate, or discussion, that there is one who cares for you. He sits high. I ought to have some help in this house, but he looks low, and he cares for you. Matter of fact, he cares so much for you that he'll come down from the sky, won't he do it, and wipe the tears from your eyes. We have a friend in high places. I looked at the text, and the first thing I see that leaps off the printed pages from the text that's trying to tailor the truth that we have a friend in high places is that he identifies with us. That was enough for somebody to shout hallelujah in this place. He identifies with us. Listen at the text. He says, seeing then we have a great high priest. The Hebrew writer wanted to make it emphatically clear that Aaron was a high priest. And in the eyes of the Jews and the Hebrews, he was the great high priest. But the Hebrew writer said, we have. I thought I had some help in there. He says, seeing here now that we have a great high priest. Now, what separates our high priest from the Aaronic priesthood? Well, a couple of things. Number one, the Aaronic priesthood was earthly. It had a beginning and an end. Talk to me if you can. But our high priest, look what he says about him. He says, seeing then we have a great high priest. Somebody say great high priest. He said, great high priest that is passed into the heavens. See, Aaron walked, but he didn't walk straight in. I thought I had some help here. But Jesus literally walked from earth right into glory. Matter of fact, when he got back to glory, he went into the holies of holies, sprinkled the blood. That was the perfect sacrifice for our sin, and then sat down at the right hand of the Father. Now, one thing I learned growing up, Rachel, my mama taught me this painful lesson, that you don't sit down until you're done with your work. You don't sit down while you're working. If you sit down, it's a sign that the work is done. And Jesus didn't sit down until he got back to glory and went into the holies of holies and sprinkled the precious blood for our perfect sacrifice. Then he sits down at the right hand of the Father. And I tell you, it's important where you sit at. You know, them disciples, they had a seating order, and John sat to the right of Jesus because he was the beloved disciple. And you never hear nobody walking around saying that, here's my left-hand man. Well, I ain't never heard nobody refer, I want you to meet my left-hand man. I think that they said, I want you to meet my right-hand man. And who's at the right hand of God? My friend that sits in high places. And he identifies with us. Listen what the writer said. He said, he is passed into the heavens. And then he identifies it. You see, because antecedent words in the sentence seem to suggest that he didn't know who he was. He says, see, and then we have a great high priest. But then he identifies him. He says, Jesus, the Son of God. He identifies him, and in his identification of him, he identifies with us because he said he's Jesus. Now, Jesus is his earthly name. Come on, talk to me for a minute. Son of God is his heavenly name. And he said, now, seeing that our high priest, Jesus, the Son of God, since we have a high priest, he said, let us hold fast our profession. Don't waver in your faith because you got somebody on your team that is in high places. He said, for we have not a high priest which cannot be touched with the feelings of our infirmities. And that idea is that word is sympathy, and to become sympathetic with a person is that you not only feel their pain mentally, but you feel it in your heart, and their pain affects you to the point that you're affected by their pain. A lot of folks say, well, child, I'm praying for you to put you off. I wish I had some help here. But there are some people who are so concerned about your burden until they'll help you take it to the Lord. They are sympathizing with what you're going on to the level that they're willing to even defend you while you're in pain. And so Jesus, he said, now, we have a high priest now. See, that's the thing you got to get about this thing, is that he knows all about you. See, nothing really bothers me a little bit more than when I'm actually going through burdens of heavy, friends a few, tears a many, and somebody come along and just say to me, I'm praying for you. And you know that by them saying it, they really ain't doing it. They say, I'm praying for you, Pastor. I want you to make it. And you know by them saying it. Now, you get quiet on me, I'm going to wonder about your praying for me. But you know by them saying it that you're not even on their little mind. And so we have a high priest. Listen, crying, he understands. Loss of loved ones, he understands. He got to Bethany into the cemetery. The Bible said he stood there and he wept for Lazarus and for the doubt of those around. And they said, look how much he loved him. In so much so that he was willing to cry. Jesus understands our tears. He understands the pain in our hearts when we've lost a loved one. He had the power to call his friend Lazarus back, but he understands. He understands when it's cold and the sky is gray. He understands when your bills are due. He understands what it's like to be frustrated. See, you don't want folk walking with you as long as the sun is shining. I call them fair weather Christians. They with you when you celebrating. They with you in green pastures. They're with you beside still waters. But they're not with you in dark valleys. And they're not with you when clouds of controversy are over your head. Jesus said, lo, I am with you always. Never alone. He promised never to leave me alone. And see, sometimes you have to be careful when you start identifying with some stuff. Because, see, folk will find out real quickly that you don't know what you're talking about. See, if you wasn't raised on hot water cornbread and fatback, somebody who was raised on hot water cornbread and fatback will know that you're faking it real. If you didn't sleep 4 or 5 in the bed, you start talking about that, and folk who had toe jam in their mouth will know that you. If all your stuff came off the rack, don't get in a hand-me-down conversation. Because you're finna get your feeling hurt real quick. Because somebody was raised on hand-me-down. Talk to me if you can. Somebody in here know what it's like to be second when you was first. You were the oldest, but you still had to get stuff from somebody else's house because mama came home with a bag and said, go shopping. I thought I had some. Boy, listen, I just buy clothes sometimes because I can. Now, I'm going to say that one more time because some of y'all need to help me. I buy clothes sometimes just because I can, because there was a time when I couldn't. Do I have anybody in this house? My mama, she come home with a big old black garbage bag and said, Miss So-and-so had a son, he's young, grew a little bit, and she think he your size. Look through that bag and see what you can find. I had no option of being able to say to her, I don't want to wear somebody else's clothes, because to me they were new. So I can identify with somebody who's been through the struggle of not having and now have. Now, if you've been with money all your life, don't talk to nobody who's been broke. They're going to tell you real quick, you don't know what you're talking about. You don't know what a tomato and mayonnaise sandwich is. You don't know what sugar water is. Y'all going to help me out here for a minute? You don't know what a mason jar look like. Don't mess with me. Don't. He identifies. And when you got somebody, Rachel, that identifies with you and you know that they've been where you've been and know what you're talking about, you really got somebody on your team. And Jesus identified. The lyrics say, I must tell Jesus all my trials. Why you going to tell Jesus, I cannot bear these burdens alone? In my distress, he will kindly help me. Won't he do it? He ever loves and cares for his own. I must tell Jesus. I said, I must tell Jesus. I cannot bear these burdens alone. Jesus can, he can help me. And Jesus alone. If you got some troubles, you need to tell Jesus. I said, if you got some troubles, you need to tell Jesus, because there are some folk that want to know what your troubles are, and they can't help you. All they can do is spread your troubles with somebody else. You better tell Jesus. If you can't get to Jesus, talk to the wind, but you got to be careful who you tell your problems to. Come on, talk to me if you can. Why tell Jesus? I'm going to tell him because he is the one that can do something about what's going on in my life. He's a kind, compassionate friend. If I but ask him, he will deliver, make my troubles quickly an end. God's going to do one or two things about your troubles. He's going to make them quickly an end, or he's going to get in them with you. Either he's going to make them go away, or he's going to come closer. Come on, talk to me for a minute. He did not make the fire quit burning in Babylon. He just met the boys in the furnace. Please, watch this now. I'm going to give you this. It's free. If God is not solving the problem, he's already settled it. Y'all going to catch that one on the way home. See, because you keep on telling him, Lord, I can't make it if the mountain don't move. He said, this ain't one that's got to move. You got to climb this one, and I'm ready to help you climb. Every mountain ain't getting out of your way. Every mountain you can't tunnel through. Some of them you got to climb. F.C. Barnes and Janice Brown say coming up the rough side of. You need some rough side. You need just a little roughness in your life. That's why the baby needs to fall and get up on his own sometime. That's why it needs to tumble sometime. It's designed to fall. The baby bones are not fused together yet. If I fall at 57, y'all better come on help me here. But if the baby fall at 2, the baby going to be all right. That's why you can pick it up by the arm and don't break his arm. If you pick me up by my arm, I'm going to be dislocated. I'm going to have some problems. But the baby's designed to fall. And some of us, we need to fall and go through some stuff, understanding that Jesus, if he got his eye on the sparrow, he also, he watches over me. So the first thing I see in the text is that my friend in high places identifies with us. He knows us. He knows you so intimately until he has numbered the hairs on your head. You know, you be bragging about folk Man, I know him, man. And then folk be depending on you to know him. And then they go to you and go to the person and say, you know Larry Hawkins? Larry who? Larry Hawkins, he said, y'all friend. I don't know no Larry Hawkins. But he said that, man, listen, go on somewhere. I don't know Larry Hawkins. And so then you out here bragging about knowing somebody that you don't know. Won't suggest strongly that you get to know Jesus. Because now he said, if you own me before men, there's going to come a time in your life you're going to need me to own you. And I'll do it before my Father. But now if you deny me before men, when you get to heaven, I'm going to tell my daddy, I don't know you. He identifies with us. Second thing that comes into the text is that he invites us into the fellowship. Listen to what he said. He said, now we have not a high priest that cannot be touched with the feelings of our infirmities. And he makes it clear. He makes it clear, Frederick. He says, but was in all points tempted like as we are, yet without sin. And you know temptation comes in three categories. To have something you shouldn't have, do something you shouldn't do, or be somebody God didn't design you to be. And Jesus was tempted in all three areas and came out without sin. And that qualifies him then to be our high priest, because we need a sinless high priest. He invites us then in verse 16. He said, let us therefore come boldly to the throne of grace. He said, come unto me, all ye that labor and are heavy laden, and I'll give you rest. Take upon you my yoke and learn of me, for my yoke is easy. Any help in this house? And my burdens are light. And I tell you, Jesus' yoke is a double yoke. You're in one side, and he's in the other side. And he'll help us bear our burdens in the heat of the day. Won't he do it? He'll make our troubles quickly. And then he reminded us that weeping endures for the night, but in the morning there comes joy. It was Peter who said, casting all your cares upon him, for he careth for you. My brothers and my sisters, he said, look, when you have trouble, when you have problems, and when you have burdens, he said, boldly come. Now, when you boldly go anywhere, you go because you know ain't nobody going to stop you. You got a connection that even if they tried to stop you, the person you're trying to get to going to give you passage. I remember when Larry was here growing up, and he and Skylar and some more boys, they all hung together around here on campus. Got in a whole lot of trouble around here on campus, the preacher's son. But one thing about it, when it came time to come to my office, they all made sure that Larry was with them. Now, Larry didn't always open the door first, but he was in the group. Y'all ain't going to get this. And sometimes Skylar would come in, Skylar would knock, and I'd look at him with a scowl on my face, and how dare you come into my office without knocking? And by the time I would get ready to say something to him, Larry would step in the door. And it was all well, because he was with the Son. I go before God, go to talking to him about stuff wrong in my life. And the adversary is there to accuse me and tell the Lord why he ought not hear me and why I ought not have a privilege of talking to him. And Jesus steps in and says, Daddy, you ought to hear Larry. You ought to answer his prayer. And God says to him, why? And all he does is open the palms of his hands, because he is my intercessor. He intercedes on my behalf. Do I have a witness here? He's the one who gives me access to the Father. For he said the other day, I am the door. Yeah, if any man come in the other way, he's a thief and a robber. So the writer here says, let us therefore come boldly to the throne of grace. And that brings me to my third point. Not only does he identify with us, and not only does he invite us into the fellowship, but he infuses us with grace to help us. You see, while you're running and you're running without Jesus, it's just a race. But when you're running and you're running with Jesus, it's running the race by grace. Do I have a witness here? My brother and my sister, the writer says, we can come boldly to the throne of grace, that we may obtain mercy, Lord, and find grace to help you in the time of need. Do you hear me? He said we can come on to the throne of grace. We don't have to come with our heads bowed down. We can come boldly because of our relationship with Jesus. Because he is the high priest, the Son of the living God, who paid the price for you and I. I'm glad today that I have a friend, and his name is Jesus. Good morning, y'all. I got to go here now, but I want to tell y'all, I tell him sometimes, Jesus, hold my hand while yeah, Lord, I run this race because I don't want to run this race in vain. Jesus, hold my hand while I preach this sermon because I don't want my preaching to be in vain. Is there anybody in the room who tell the Lord, hold my hand while I run this race, because I don't want my running to be in vain? And he will only do it. He'll walk with you. He'll hold your hand. I thought I had two more witnesses who can testify that there's not a friend like the lowly Jesus. Do you hear me? No, not one. Yes, Lord, none else could heal all my soul diseases. Do you hear me? Nobody but Jesus could pay the price on Calvary. Nobody but Jesus could suffer, bleed, and die. Do you hear me? Isaiah said, he was wounded for my transgressions, and by his stripes, Lord, I am healed. Is there anybody in the room who can testify that your life is better because you met Jesus? And bright early that Sunday morning, he rose from the grave with all the power. And I'm so glad. Do you hear me? I'm glad he got up. Mary Magdalene, she saw him in the garden, and she reached out to touch him, and he told her, don't cling to me yet. I have yet to ascend back to my Father. When he got home, do you hear me? I said, when he got home, he walked in to the holies of holies, sprinkled the blood for our sin, became the perfect sacrifice. Do you hear me? And sat down at the right hand of the Father. And I'm glad I have an advocate with the Father. Do you hear me? If I was called to go to court, I need somebody who's qualified to speak for me. Do you hear me? I need an attorney who's going to represent represent me. I need somebody who understands me. I need somebody who's willing to speak for me. And if I was called in the court today for my sin, I don't mean no harm. I can't use Conway and Associates. I can't use Maxine. Their ability to argue in this court is limited because it's before God himself. But I got a lawyer who can walk right in and represent me. I got a lawyer who can come and tell God, be patient with him. I'm not through with him yet. Anybody in the room know he's still working on you? Ain't the Lord all right? Yes, Lord. There's not a friend like the lowly Jesus. No, not one. He knows. Doesn't he know all about your struggles? If you know the Lord knows, just wave your hand and testify. He knows, and I'm glad, Harvey, he knows just how much I can bear. Though sometimes the load bear down kind of heavy, but when I'm gone, it's supposed I can go, Sean, and I've stood as long as I can stand. He comes to my rescue. Won't he do it? He's my burden bearer. He's my heavy load sharer. He's my way maker. Do you know him? Ain't he all right? He's all right. Yeah. He's all right. No friend like him is so high and holy, but yet no friend like him is so meek and lowly. He'll come down from the sky and he'll wipe the tears from your eyes. Anybody got a friend in high places? If you know his name, let me hear you say, Jesus. Jesus, he's my rock in a weary land. He's my high tower in the time of trouble. He's my way out of no way. Anybody got a testimony that God did it? If you know he did it, let me see you say, God did it. Everything good that happened to me, who did it? God did it. Didn't he do it? Woke you up this morning, clothing your right mind, activities if you live. Ain't he all right? If you know he lives, let me hear you say, yeah! Shout yeah! Yeah! Did ever saint find this friend forsake him? No, not one. Or a sinner find that it would not take him? No, not one. Because I came to Jesus just as I was, wearied, wounded, and sad. I found in him a sweet old resting place, and he's made me glad. God bless you, the door's open. But we have a friend in high places, and the writer said we can boldly come to the throne of grace that we may obtain grace in the time of need. By letter, Christian Experience, candidate for baptism. If you're here today, call on your life. We extend an invitation. The door is open. Is there one who needs to come? Deacons are standing to welcome you. Church is praying for you.
There's not a friend
like the Lord. God bless your hearts. Thank you, brother. You may be seated.
No, not one.
Oh, no.
Not one.
Come on.
None else could heal all our soul diseases.
Congregation may be seated. Thank you, brother.
No, not one.
Oh, Lord, no, not one.
Oh, Jesus knows
all about our struggles.
Oh,
He will
guide
till the day.
is done.
Oh, Lord,
Oh, there offering
like the Lord.